on here. All right, so thank you all for coming. Let me just let a few more people in. And I am super excited to see you guys, all the familiar names and new ones, and thank you for coming. And so I guess we'll start officially. So welcome to the Holistic Actions Q&A. Holistic Vet Jeff Feinman here with Holistic Vet Dr. Christina Chambreau, and just gonna ask everyone to keep themselves muted.
I can't mute myself.
So, okay, let's mute you. There you go, Kathy.
Yeah.
All right, no, okay. There you go. And Linda.
That's nicer. And
All
we can
right.
start with Aaron.
Well, why don't we start with a little bit of context about
Okay,
why
go
we're
ahead.
here, what the purpose of these Q&As are.
Great.
Because the reason we're doing these is to put any symptom or disease into the context of the positive and practical veterinary spirituality that we teach at Holistic Actions. What does that mean? That means that we'll be discussing ways to help our pets have their best lives possible that go beyond diet and supplements and all the things that we know, minimizing vaccines and minimizing drugs, things that all work on a molecular level to raise cellular energy. And we're using the energetic paradigm to help activate the body's own healing mechanisms. There are specific ways, like unconditional love. You know, we don't usually think about love as an energy, and it's a force that can help heal our bodies and our pets, but we can tap into that to help them heal while we heal and heal the planet. It's actually the most sustainable energy source that there is, love and happiness. And I'm gonna actually start by sharing a slide, which I forgot to share last time. And that's why Dr. Chambreau asked me to start with the slide. Let's see if I can do it. No, it didn't work. Let's try.
Not the right one.
Not the right one. There we go. I think it's showing. Okay, and the reason
So while he's doing that,
that's
a couple of things.
That's not visible.
Dr. I'm seeing your Holistic Action site.
All right, let's try one more time.
So while he's working on that, a couple of things. We may have definitely let me know if I'm getting cut off or freezing. Just make your hands go like this if that happens, because it said just now that my internet was unstable. I'm on the road, so I'm the gas station sort of place. The answer to many of your questions will have specifics, but also there are a few things that we recommend you do. And so we'll try to post those several times, but just because people come and go on these chats, of course. So number one is take the Holistic Pet Health 101 class. So those of you who haven't done that, please take that. That will give you 5 lessons worth of incredible information to keep you going and building health, whether you have a brand new animal who's perfectly healthy or you're looking at problems. Number 2 is looking for a holistic veterinarian. Go to the article Select. read the article. Don't just go to the website. So you have to understand why you have to go to all these different websites. And there was something else, but we'll think of it as we come along.
Okay, now I'm just gonna see if I can put any of
Okay,
those
so
link.
quick answer. Ruth K asked, could you please review heartworm prevention without using chemicals? And she looked at the Empower Hour on November 16th, 2000 and whatever, and wondering if there's any new information. The bottom line is about heartworm prevention. The first step is you need to know about the heartworm cycle. And the heartworm cycle, and this is very brief, so I would definitely review it. And maybe Dr. Jeff can figure out if we have it written up somewhere that we can put a link in for them at the Holistic Actions website for members, that they can access it there. So number one is a mosquito gets born and it's for blood. And it has to find a dog that has live adult heartworms in the heart that are making babies. The babies are in the bloodstream. So the mosquito picks up the infected blood, and then in the mosquito for 2 weeks, it's through these different cycles. And if it gets really cold for a couple of days, the heartworm cycle in the mosquito stops. The mosquito doesn't die, but it stops. And so think about that when you're deciding when and where to do preventative. The second is the mosquito bites your dog. So your dog has to be found by a heartworm positive mosquito in order to get heartworms. It injects the microfilaria, the babies, under the skin, but they fall out from the salivary glands. So they have to crawl around and find that hole. Already lots of them aren't going to make it. Then in the body, if you have a healthy immune system, it's going to send out intruder alert and go kill those migrating larvae, which is what the quote preventative does. The drug comes in and it kills the migrating larvae, and then it's out of the system in 24 hours. So that's another piece to keep in mind, that it's doing what a healthy dog's body should do. So that gives different pieces of it. Some people choose to not do any heartworm prevention and blood test twice a year. Others choose to do the heartworm prevention, quote prevention, which is really a morning after pill, and do that after it's gotten hot in their area and they're in an area where they're seeing mosquitoes. If you're not seeing mosquitoes, there's no need to worry about it. And they give it every 1.5 to 2 months, because that'll kill all the migrating larvae. And then, so those are sort of the two options that most people do. There's no need to do it year round every month. So we're not going to go in much more detail on that. So if you have a specific question, I'll try to answer it. If you have a specific more question on the heartworm, but definitely keep reading about it. Aaron said that
and before we
go
move
ahead.
on, I just want to add a proviso to what you said, because that's not the current recommendations. The current recommendations, are that you give it every month, year round, but in the context that Dr. Chambreau just gave. So you need to have all the information, available. So don't say to your vet necessarily, well, I was told that, you don't need to give it every month, but the science is what Dr. Chambreau is sharing, and not the marketing info as far as what we're being told to do. Looking at the context, it doesn't really take into account the physiologic equilibrium, the energetic equilibrium that really needs or requires, animals to take, things like heartworm or other medications where they get sick. You don't see too many animals out in nature taking heartworm or antibiotics or anything like that. So sorry. And Dr. Chambreau.
No, that's good. And then I want to go on and say also that if your dog does get heartworms, there are multiple ways of rebalancing the animal So usually we're able to treat them homeopathically, Chinese medicine, herbally, without needing to do the conventional drugs. And usually it works, and everything depends. So what you need to know is there is no one right answer. You need to make your decision, and then don't fault yourself if your decision ends up leading you down a path of problems, because it might or might not have done that. There's no right answer. There's no expert that knows what you and your animal needs. Okay, so Erin is having regular dentistry with her 16-year-old dog, and he paws at his mouth at different times of the day. And the dentist said there was a little recession of the gums. Usually just having some gum recession doesn't have dogs pawing at their mouth. So Erin, you want to unmute yourself, or Jeff, can you unmute Erin? Are you where you can talk, Erin?
Unfortunately, and I was going to say that everyone can unmute themselves. Bottom left corner of the Zoom screen, there's a little microphone that says mute. And also there's another little thing that says reactions, where if you have any questions and you want to unmute, you can just raise your hand like this. And yes, Erin,
Okay,
please.
perfect.
Okay, so Erin, quick question.
Yeah.
What kind of a dog do you have? Does it have long hair on its face?
Yes, Lhasa Apso, and he does have longer hair.
And do you keep the hair around around the mouth trimmed?
That's funny, because I was actually looking at that. Some of the hair started to kind of wrap around the lip in the mouth. And so I went and I cut it all off. But he seems to still be pawing at the mouth. So I just,
Okay,
if it's as simple as the hair being in there, that's wonderful.
But that is step one. That was my first thought.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I'll look more.
And if we want to look, what we want to try to figure out is, why is he pawing at his mouth? Does he do it, you said, at different times of the day, not related to eating or playing or chewing on a toy?
Nope, last night it was in the middle of the night at like 5:30 in the morning, and he was sleeping. He just all of a sudden woke up and started pawing at his mouth. So
okay,
yeah.
So keep looking to see if you can come up with a possible reason.
Okay.
Number one. Number two is, this is one of the examples of where talking to an animal communicator might help. Because,
yeah, I actually have one. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because he may say to the animal communicator, it's my gums, they hurt.
Yeah.
And then to go from that, at least as a possibility. Again, even animal communicators aren't right all the time, but it still gives you another possibility to go. But given that you've got a little bit of gum recession, you definitely want to be building health in all the different ways, so that the body can have the healthiest gums possible. Dr. Jeff, any specific ideas for the gums?
Yeah, I added a product, Erin, that is deer velvet, manuka honey, propolis, a bunch of things that you just spray.
The spray, I have that by Dr. Judy Morgan.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not quite the same spray, but keep using that. Yeah, the New Zealand spray is a little bit different. Hers was based on that one. And the biggest tip that I can give is raw bones. A little dog, just take a chicken neck and just hold it and let them gnaw on it, and that's gonna really do a really good job in addition to your brushing.
Okay.
Now, if that seems to cause any discomfort, so Jane, I just want to make sure, can you hear me okay? Okay. So if that causes some discomfort, you might want to just try a big piece of meat. So like heart meat or steak, something that's big enough for a small dog that they can still sink their teeth into.
Yeah,
So
the dentist had said don't do anything hard, because his teeth were actually getting worn down. So yeah, a piece of meat would be perfect.
Hard he's talking about something different than the necks. The necks or the chicken would still be okay. But
Oh,
play around with which one feels better to you. Use your intuition.
Yeah.
Review on the Holistic Action site some of our muscle testing approaches to see if you can tell which one might be better.
okay. Great. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
And just one more piece of context, the teeth wearing down is a
Yes.
sign, not necessarily of chewing on something hard, but there are dogs and people whose teeth wear down because of an energetic imbalance. It's actually one of the early warning signs that something may be going on, in addition to just the teeth being worn down from chewing on bones. So yeah, you may want to start working with the homeopath.
Yes, big piece
That
of
can
meat.
resolve things like that pretty easily.
Okay,
over
great. I have a
time.
holistic vet, but not a homeopathic practitioner.
Well, so here's the thing. Regardless of who you're working with, whether it's a holistic vet, Chinese medicine, chiropractic, homeopathic vet, you're the one living with your dog and cat and horse 24/7. So learn how to evaluate cure, palliation, and suppression. And if whatever they're doing is making your animal feel better overall and do better, and you don't see a worsening of symptoms in general, then keep going with that person. If, however, you're seeing a worsening in the overall being, energy, attitude, that quality of life, then or even some symptoms seem to be worsening, then you may want to add in a different perspective. So if I was treating a client and treating a patient with homeopathy and felt sort of stuck, I'd refer them to Chinese medicine. Let's see what a good Chinese medicine person can do. So yeah, you might want to add in a homeopath.
So well said. Yeah, I think I'm at that point. Thank
Dr. Jeff, would you like me to be answering in the chat and you talk to the live, or do you want me to do the live and you answer? Some of them in the chat can be answered quickly.
Yeah,
Which do you want to do?
We can just keep doing what we're doing now, which is just,
Well, I was coming from the chat. Do you want me to start with the live people that have asked?
Sure, yeah. Why don't we start
Okay.
with people raising their
Okay,
hand? The
Miranda,
first
you're
person-
on.
Beautiful. Hi,
Jane.
Jeff and Christina.
Hi,
To see
Miranda.
you guys.
Thank you.
Hey,
Yes,
Jeff. He's a 16-month-old boy rescued from Texas. And we did a heartworm test when he came up. I'm in Eastern Canada, so we don't have heartworm here. He tested positive for anaplasmosis. He's not symptomatic at all. And so the vet just recommended to monitor and, to do further action if he becomes symptomatic. My question is that she's a conventional vet. I don't have a holistic vet yet. And she recommended keeping him on, Simparico or other tick, prevention, because if he gets Lyme, which is common here, that it could reemerge and cause the anaplasmosis to kind of come back up and cause big issues. I'm just curious what your feedback is on that.
Go ahead, Dr. Jeff.
Well, Miranda, I guess the diagnosis of anaplasma, is just a very small part of the bigger context. So, number one, was there just exposure to anaplasma? Did they do follow-up tests or just the in-house test?
Just the in-house. She said if he's symptomatic, then they could do a PCR. But yeah.
Yeah, and if you want more info that you are going after this in particular, are you seeing a lot of ticks, or do you get a lot of ticks?
We do get a lot of ticks now. Yep. Yeah. And I used to never use any chemical tick prevention, just examining, but with him, I have been because of that. But he's very healthy. Like, he is raw fed. He's all of the things that you recommend, we do all of that. He has great quality of life and is super healthy and full of vitality. So yeah, I believe he can go after anything that comes his way.
Yeah, maybe just focus on, on monitoring and maintaining cellular joy and happiness, and, ideally all the energy medicine that you can use, whether it's with the homeopath, whether it's your own Reiki or Qigong, or really it's all going to add up together. But by far, with the dogs especially, it's so easy to make them happy and joyful, and that is the very best way to get their bodies to do the best they can.
Absolutely. Thank you. I definitely appreciate that. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay,
and
Jane,
now-
you're next.
I'm so sorry. Could I just interrupt for a second? I can't find out how to put my hand up on the screen.
That's okay.
I'm new at this.
Raising your,
I don't
oh,
want to
well, that's
interrupt
okay.
anybody
Jane
else.
just raised.
I lost
Kathy,
you.
The
Yes?
Jane
bottom
raised
word
her
says-
Oh,
hand.
I did. Just your
like
hand?
this.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
And you want to say that she just raised her own hand. So
Thank you. I will mute myself
that's
now.
fine. If you can't
Let's see
find
if
the
I
button,
can. Yes,
that's all
mute.
right. So Jane, you're next.
I have a senior dog. She just turned
Jane, you
15.
have to unmute yourself.
I did. Can you
We
hear
can-
me
we can-
now?
We can hear you.
Okay.
Yep.
I have a 15-year-old Doxy Chihuahua mix. In about 6 months
hear her.
ago, she took a terrible
senior dog.
fall. A
No, now you're-
terrible fall out of my arms and
You'll
hit.
have to type it in the chat, Jane.
I beg your pardon?
Dr. Chambrow's bandwidth is. May want to turn your video off, Dr. Chambreau, because you're not hearing us, I think. Anyways, I'm sorry, Jane, go ahead.
So I took her in for an evaluation because she was screaming after this fall. I mean, screaming. Everyone said there's nothing wrong with her. It just, she just has some residual pain from falling. She has never, ever recovered. Everyone, the different various vets that I took her to say, she's just old. Up until that point, she was a vigorous, active, enthusiastic, loving, super funny dog. And she is deteriorating. She now has ataxia at her back end. If she shakes, sometimes she'll knock herself over with that. And people still keep telling me, the vets say, it's just age and she's getting old and I should think about end of life. So now that I'm thinking, should I take her for a neurological workup to one of the centers?
Diagnostically, that would be your next step for sure. But, from my energetic point of view, the fall was a trigger. There was already, something going on in her body that was part related to her age, for sure. But if we remove that, what I call, energetic entanglements, there's something keeping her getting better and making it worse. And, often a few doses of homeopathic arnica will do that.
Okay.
And if you're working with, with a holistic vet or a homeopath, you can get that easily, or you can buy arnica off the counter. But, obviously, we're not diagnosing or treating because your next step is, conventionally to go ahead and go to the neurologist. But
okay, I treated her with arnica, and that it didn't have any effect. How long should you continue the treatment to wait to ascertain if it's effective?
What potency of arnica did you use?
I used a 6 and then I went to a 30.
Can you get anything higher?
Yes, I have a 200.
Higher?
Really?
Yeah, like
I don't-
10M? Would be
10M,
awesome.
Okay. I guess I'll have.
Not that I'm saying that because I'm not treating your dog.
Okay.
But yeah,
No,
in general, the most effective protocol is the highest potency you can get. just one pellet in water and give it as often as, every hour.
Uh-huh,
But you
okay,
need to succuss the cup that you make before
Yes.
every dose.
okay, I will definitely contact different places to see about getting a 10M.
Yeah, but use what you've got for now.
Okay,
Not
And-
a 200 or 1M or
okay. All right, thank you very much, because she is fading. She's just going downhill, and it just is breaking my heart.
yeah.
She has her sibling. I rescued both of them at the same time. And she was always more energetic, interactive, great appetite. She has a sense of humor. It's really amazing. And now she's just losing it. She's going away. She's very fatigued all the time. She's lost a lot of weight, and she spends 80% of her time on her little bed.
Is there anything she loves to do more than, or eat more than anything else in the world?
I've tried, in terms of eating, her absolute favorite foods, she has no interest in.
What about walks or going outside or anything that she used to love?
If you take her outside, you have to stay with her because she's so unstable. Walking, she used to love to walk and run outside. Now she can't do it. She's
But
just too unstable.
but the ground, the earth, the nature
Yeah,
is gonna
yeah.
help her
Everybody-
heal. Just get her
Right.
out. She doesn't have to go for a walk. Just get her out in the yard, get her on the ground, and visualize that she's getting better. And they're showing that our thoughts really do have a lot of power.
Okay. I've been sending out the wrong energy. I've been full of worry.
Yes,
Okay.
that's
Wonderful.
critical, not to worry. Very, very, very important. And on our Holistic Actions YouTube site, which I recommend everybody check out, we have Bernie Siegel talking about that, as well as we have, and Dr. Jeff, if you can start answering things in the chat, because when I went off and came back on, of course, now I have no chat. So if you can start at the beginning and try to answer some. So the other place, and I'll put it in the chat, is All Pause Pet Talk TV. And we have interviewed a lot of Bernie Siegel, and he talks a lot, Jane, about what we were just talking about, of keeping your positivity going. So thanks, Jane. And there's a
Thank you
whole lot.
very much.
Are you a Holistic Actions member? You'd get
I'm
a whole
going
lot.
I'm going
You're
to
good.
join.
Good.
A
You'll get a
friend
whole
told
lot
me
of
about-
support there. All right.
Thank you.
Who was it that couldn't get her shoot? Kathy. Go ahead, Kathy. You need to unmute yourself.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Thank you so much for your patience.
Sure.
I recently, 3 months ago, I adopted a red cat from the shelter. His 86-year-old owner passed away and nobody wanted him. And since when I got him, and when he went to the shelter, they loaded him up with every vaccine possible, flea treatments, everything, whether he needed it or not. And when I got him home 3 months later, he came with diarrhea. That's been taken care of. He is a completely raw cat on raw food now, but he's having issues itching like mad, and he doesn't have fleas. He doesn't go out. He has no skin irritations that I can see. I'm wondering if it's from the vaccines. And he also has an issue now with somewhat semi-constipation. He goes into the box, digs like mad, tries so hard to poop. Sometimes he's successful, sometimes not. Eventually he goes back in, a few times he goes. I have him on psyllium, small dose a day, egg yolk, egg lecithin, and he's also biting and scratching. And I found out from the, I'm sorry, me.
Go ahead.
I have very fragile skin, and I have a
You're
Kathy, I'm sorry, Kathy, I think you're mute. Yeah, you're muted again, so we didn't hear you.
Unmute, yeah, unmute yourself.
Okay,
But
I did-
let
okay.
me just we got so many people, so I'm
I
going to
know.
interrupt you at this point, Kathy. So number one for everybody, no animal dies from skin problems. When the energy field is balanced enough to produce skin problems, when it's thrown out of balance, we are super excited. So be very, very patient with skin problems, no matter how bad they are.
It's just
second-
itching. It's not, I don't see anything on his skin.
So when it's just itching and nothing on the skin, even be more grateful. But when they're,
Okay.
even if they're raw bleeding spots, be grateful that it's on the skin and don't try to stop it too quickly. If you're a member of Holistic Actions, there's an entire place that says ears and skin, and you can get a bunch of webinars and suggestions there. Now, the
Okay.
constipation might be from the diet. So there's a lot of research you need to be doing in the diet. If there's too much bones, that could
No, he
do
doesn't
it.
have bone. I do not.
Are
put-
you
it's
giving
not
any,
bone.
are you making the diet or are you buying a
Yes,
commercial
I am
diet?
making it. I
Are you
make it.
giving any calcium?
It's in there. It's in the Easy Complete. If you're familiar with Food for Life.
Okay, so Dr.
Somebody.
Jeff, why don't you take over and talk about Easy Complete? I'm not as familiar with it.
I don't know.
Right, it's totally balanced. It is totally
Yeah,
balanced.
what Dr. Chambreau is saying is that with constipation, the calcium in the bones in the diet, and even any form of calcium can actually solidify.
This is totally balanced. This is balanced.
Yeah, I believe
Every animal is different. That's
I
the
know.
thing,
Like every person. Yes.
right? So
What
balance
about
for
the
one
biting and
animal,
Okay. Sorry.
balance for one animal may not be balanced for other animals. Now, the other thing is that if you are, when you're having multiple problems, you have to sort of start at the beginning and try one approach. There's not a magic bullet. We can't tell you today, do this, and the skin's going to be clear and the stool is going to be clear. Just
Of
like with a
course.
person, you need to slowly progress. Now, if you are really concerned, then you need to be working with a holistic veterinarian.
Okay.
And homeopathic ones can work by phone. Or
Yes.
virtually, and others can work virtually as well, some of them. So it's a matter of, or you can try changing the diet, try a different diet. You can try making sure there's plenty of exercise, no boredom, which can cause itching. You can try some good skin supplements like essential fatty acids or
Omega-3s.
standard processed skin supplement. You start with one at a time and then move on. You want a combination. You don't just want omega-3s.
Right.
And so you can start with one, keep a journal, try another change. But the most important thing is to remember that the symptoms are not caused by anything, except maybe too much bone could be an imbalance in the energy field. So
Would the
another
vaccines
thing,
have done this?
it could have, it's a one possibility, but that's only one of 1,000 possibilities.
Okay. What about the biting and
Every
the
animal
scratching?
has, it's all the same thing. We have
Okay.
one energy field that that's when thrown off balance by something, we don't know what, produces symptoms. And we have to hear, and this may apply to people who are asking questions, you're not trying to treat one problem with one thing and another problem with another thing. Now you might be soothing it, and that's okay, like using the psyllium or trying marshmallow root or trying a different food. So that's soothing it. But when you have multiple problems, you want to know that the energy field is out of balance, and that's what's causing the problem. So in general, for everybody, another thing that we didn't mention at the beginning is please learn energy healing approaches, whether it's Reiki, healing touch for animals, Eden energy medicine, and we've been covering these a lot. So if you've learned a healing energy, you can start healing your animal immediately. That can be added into any treatments that are there, and it can be very powerful.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And why don't we?
I'm going to move on, Kathy. You can
Okay,
post if
thank
you
you.
have more questions there.
Yeah, and rather than focusing on the chat questions, why don't we take the ones with you guys that have
I know,
your
that's
hands raised?
That's
like
what I've been doing. That's what I've been
Grandpa?
doing, Dr. Jeff. So Dr. Bill, you're next. Bill,
He's,
go ahead. Unmute
Can
yourself,
you-
Bill.
Can
there
you hear me?
go. Yep.
Okay,
Oh, now we can. Okay.
real quickly, in lieu of time for everyone else, thank you so much. Kind of a comment, an observation, and maybe a food for thought. The comment, I love that you're reinforcing all the modalities, the Reiki, and et cetera. I love it, and I couldn't concur more. What did I say? A comment?
Good.
A question. I know on the human side, and I know from a former life a little bit about the animals, but more so on the human soft tissue, oral conditions, and maybe a question pertinent to animals. Thanks for your patience. I know a lot of success with earthen clays and mangosteen for the xanthones in the pericarp, what the pericarp presents in human. So I guess I just kind of throw that out there, maybe as a possible consideration with reinforcing all of the modalities, and I'll get it off. And thank you so much. Thank you.
Right. Thanks, Grandpa.
So mangosteen is a wonderful supplement and it's good for multiple different things. But again, there's no one right answer that answers every question, but mangosteen is certainly one thing for people to consider. And it's not for any one problem, but it can address multiple problems. So definitely look up and research mangosteen. Thank you. And definitely keep going with the energy. Robin, you're next.
Oh, yes. Hi. Okay, so I have a Belgian Malinois and he's cryptokid.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he doesn't have his, but his
Yep.
brother has both of his testes descended. And originally when I first got them before, when they were younger, I was thinking that I read that I can give them a vasectomy and hormonally they'll be more healthy than if I just get them neutered. But
Right.
that his is not coming down at all. I'm going back to thinking that they have to be neutered because it's I don't want them to turn into cancer.
So sometimes we have had success as homeopathic veterinarians in getting the testicles to drop. If they're sort of just, you can't feel them, but they're sort of close, then with the correct homeopathic medicine for that individual, they can drop. So you may want to try working first with a homeopathic veterinarian. And then to the question of increased cancer risk, if they're really in the abdomen, Dr. Jeff?
Minimal, it's a minimal risk, and the tumors of the testicles are usually benign, but what you're really worried about if they're in the belly, first of all, do we know they're in the belly and not in the inguinal canal?
I don't know. I don't know. I had ultrasound or whatever they did. I don't know what they did, but they told me when he was young, he wasn't even 18 weeks yet. But they said when they were still up by the kidneys. They told me. But he's 9 months now,
which is not unusual at that age. So you may
Yeah.
want to have an ultrasound done right now because of the
Okay.
even if they're not descended, if they're in the inguinal canal, you know, they're not gonna twist, they're not gonna create problems later in life, like if they were in the abdomen.
Yeah.
And you can find out non-invasively with an ultrasound.
Okay, but you know, do you
And
guys have a list of? Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
the other thing, Robin, is the more you follow the guidelines of holistic health and keep your dog balanced, the less likelihood there is of cancer anywhere.
Yes.
And you notice I said less, it's not 100%. And of course, the conventional will recommend getting rid of them because they don't realize that it's so energy based. So there are multiple approaches that you can try. And the Pet Health 101 course is free. So definitely I recommend taking that. And also reading for free, you can read the threads in the forum. And we've had many threads about spay neuter. Don't know if there have been any about undescended testicles. If you were a member, you could make a post there about undescended testicles. So, but definitely you can go read about that.
Okay. Do you guys also have a resource for homeopathic vets? Because I'm
If you
in
go
Chicago.
to, if you
Yes.
go to holisticactions.com/select, there's an article on finding and working with holistic veterinarians. And read the entire article, and then there's a bunch of websites to support you to finding that.
Okay. Can you say that again? Holistic what?
I'll type it in the chat for you.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, good. Josh and Beth, go ahead.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Josh. I'm in the cat rescue world. I have an elder cat that my son and I took in 9 years ago. He was in really, really poor condition. He was emaciated and just a hot mess in general. We don't know how long he'd been on the streets. So he has a pretty good life now. He's strictly indoors. We've had him about 9 years. We never knew exactly how old he was, but he's definitely acting like an older cat these days. And just generally, I'd love some tips for keeping him healthy and with us as long as possible. We adore him. And
So what I would suggest is that you go, and I posted it in the chat, go to brighthaven.org. Gail Pope used to adopt cats, and you can read stories that will inspire you. It's not a how-to there, but they will inspire you. And she would adopt cats 16 to 25 years old and give them a home for the rest of their life. And the first one I treated lived to be 34. And so it's definitely, there's so many things that you can do. Definitely take the Pet Health 101 course, because at any age, following the guidelines in the Holistic Actions 101 course will give you all sorts of things to try. And then on the forum, go on the Holistic Actions to the forum part of it, and you can read, you can type in the search and search for geriatric cats. I'd suggest you buy the book by Anitra Frazier called The Natural Cat. And if you become a member of Holistic Actions, oh, actually, I think is she on our YouTube? So go to the YouTube for Holistic Actions.
And the webinar this month is an open webinar. So I believe.
Oh, great. And Anitra Frazier will be speaking again this month. She's the cat maven. She is 85 and still bicycling around New York City, taking care of cats. And Kathy's nodding her head. I think Kathy knows of Anitra. So I recommend anybody on here with a cat, go to actually there's another website as well that has a ton of cat information. Littlebigcat.com is Dr. Jean Hovey, and Dr. Jean Hovey and Gail Pope are both faculty members of Holistic Actions. So if you search for either of them, you will find articles and things. Some you can access as not a member, and others you have to be a member to access, but that'll get you going. And most importantly, Josh, is do not think about your cat as being old. Years do not cause aging. Christiane Northrup wrote a beautiful book called Goddesses Never Age. And she says the same thing for people. The years passing don't cause you. It's just that you haven't figured out what to do to stay healthy. And again, it's a path. And so what you can do is try anything that we see, but fresh food, lots of love, lots of exercise, learn energy healing. Really, really important. Everybody learn energy healing and offer that on a regular basis, which is preventative. For those of you that had some young animals recently adopted, definitely learn one of the energy healing methods and you'll prevent future problems. Okay, Josh? Good?
Yeah, I have a more specific question, which, the whole wet food, the whole
So do not
raw
feed
food
dry. So everybody, don't feed dry food to cats ever. Period.
ever.
That's it, period. No dry food to cats. And all these websites I've talked about and the holistic actions and taking the course will help walk you through how to get them onto a canned diet at least, or best a fresh food diet. And that would take us about another 2 hours on this Facebook to be on this webinar to be able to answer all the questions about feeding. So go to the 101 course and post in the forum feeding cats, and go to the YouTube and listen to Anitra Fraser. She talked about how to get cats onto a fresh food diet. So that'll answer that one specifically. Okay, anything else?
Yeah, I wrestle with the raw food thing, in part because I and my son are vegan, and so the whole having to handle the raw meat and have it.
So a friend of mine was vegan, and she rescued cats. I need the whole thing. And she rescued cats, and she was so vegan that she didn't want to touch the meat for years. And she had a friend who would cut up chicken parts and freeze them in daily containers that she would thaw, and she would use a pair of tongs to put the whole chunk down for them. So there are definitely ways, if you're going to be doing cats, you're going to need to address that.
What do you think about the freeze-dried raw stuff?
Yeah, that's fine. It's not
Okay.
the best, but it's definitely fine. And then supplement it with some fresh food or commercial raw food, frozen raw food. Either, those are both good options.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to
Okay, go
move
ahead.
on. I think, did Christina, that's my name, Christina Baldwin, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. First time joining you. Very grateful. I just wanted to, I have one silly question and then I have a share. My silly question is, Dr. Christina and I had a call yesterday, and you mentioned about giving my dog like something for the teeth, like a bone, like a chicken neck. And I never thought to ask, does that have to be like raw? Or would I be able to use some of those bones that you can get
Raw.
ready made?
Raw.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely.
Tiny one. So I was just like, can she handle a big bone? And she's missing the front teeth because apparently her breed, the vet told me, has a lot of, is common to a periodontal disease. So she's missing the, she has the canines, but not the front. So it's still okay to give her a bone, even though she's missing some teeth?
Yep, absolutely.
as
And
long as it's
again,
raw.
as we talked about with the other person that it was having teeth problems, rather than bones, you can use chunks, bigger chunks of meat. So
Right.
whatever is comfortable for you.
Okay, but they have to be raw, right? To be
Well, the bigger chunks of meat don't have to be raw. Those can be sauteed on the outside
okay.
if that's what she needs to be able to eat. But
Okay.
they could be raw.
Okay, great. And then the shout out, I guess the share was you were very spot on yesterday with me about the energy work. 'Cause I do a lot of energy work, but when it comes to, so I think the dog is actually a reflection of me and my stress that I've been dealing with lately. So yesterday after we got off the call, I felt empowered to really claim, like, instead of focusing on all her issues as problems, just focusing on health and vitality for her. And I started off, I just did some healing touch. I do my own kind of modality,
Yep.
but it was so beautiful because the heat that came out of my hands was so powerful. The dog actually turned around and hugged my hand with her little paws.
Aw,
She just,
aw.
I gave her so much heat. It was like, oh my gosh, like I was hot, the dog was hot. I found,
Christina, I'm going to cut you off because we have so many people
yeah,
and
I
only
know.
10
So I
minutes
just
left.
wanted to share.
Thank you. Very good. I'm so
If
glad
it
it
had not
worked.
been for your words, I don't think I would have done that. So thank you.
Good for you. Absolutely. That's great. Lupita, you're up.
Hi, thank you all. Very grateful for this, my first time. So I have two questions about two dogs. I'll try to be brief. I know we're short on time. I have a Cocker Spaniel. He's 9 years old, and I will look at the list of resources. Thanks for sharing. I'm just curious about transitioning from dried kibble to, home
Right.
cooked meals or raw.
So here's the thing about transitioning. is it depends. Some animals, people put down a raw food diet, fresh food from their refrigerator, and the dog or cat goes, oh, finally, and they eat it and they have no trouble at all. Other dogs look at it and go, what is this? Others eat it readily and then maybe have diarrhea for the next day or two. So if you want to be super safe, you can start by a quarter, a half each week, sort of slowly integrating it. I like to be bold and just try it. And then if you run into some problems, you can back up.
Yeah, and sorry to cut you off, but he loves fruits, veggies. I don't think I'm gonna have a problem. It's more, you know, what to include or not include given the transition and that he has thyroid issues.
That'll be on the nutrition of the holistic course. So you'll get it there and you can do a search. Now, if you have thyroid issues, you definitely want to be working with a holistic veterinarian because that can be completely resolved in many, many animals and have them off their medication.
Great.
Conventionally, they have to stay on medication for life, but it's possible to get them off of it.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much. Can I ask the second question?
Sure.
Thanks. So my boyfriend has a 9-year-old Tibetan Spaniel. He's here, but it's blurry. So recently he started getting, you know, more stressed, frustrated. So whenever that happens, he growls, he chases the tail, and we just don't know how to support him. He's sitting here next to me. So if you have any
So stress is one of those really multifaceted things where it's important for you to sit back, go back to the beginning of when he started showing behaviors and see what was happening in your family, what was happening in the house, what was happening in the environment, and see if you can see maybe what might have triggered it. And then there are so many resources that you can try. If you go to the forum on the Holistic Actions page and just type in anxiety, stress, timidity, whatever, and you'll get a bunch of different suggestions. And if you become a member, then we have a whole page on that that gives you all these different resources to listen to and watch. Doing any of the energy healing, like Tellington Tea Touch. If you go to the YouTube for to the website for Tellington Tea Touch or YouTube for Tellington Tea Touch, it's just little circles, very easy to do, and you can learn it immediately. Eden Energy Medicine, you can learn it immediately. And you might want to pick up some Rescue Remedy, which is a combination flower essence, and you can start with giving some of that. Flower essences are totally safe. All of what we talked about is totally safe. So that's a good place to start.
Great, thank
Okay.
you. And the
You're
forum
welcome,
on your
Lupita.
website?
Pardon?
The forum is on your website on the.
Yep, holisticactions.com, click on forum.
Wonderful, thank you very much.
You're
And
welcome.
I just added a link to the chat that you may want to look over as far as, you know, it'll help reduce anxiety. And that is focusing on joy.
Okay.
Moving on.
You know, Linda, I think you've been up there forever, haven't you? You're got to unmute yourself, Linda.
Well, I actually started on the chat thinking, and I came last time and put something on the chat and it didn't go anywhere. So I decided maybe I should put my hand up.
Okay.
Anyway, someone Aruna directed me to your website for my laryngeal paralysis question. But I have two simple questions about both of those things. The first one was the sebaceous adenitis cyst. He's had sebaceous adenitis and lost most of his fur on his back for 6 years or 7 years. He's always been dealing with that. I don't have a problem with skin problems at all. They're not impacting him. He doesn't care. He doesn't have hair. He's just a bald boy. But then he had, and for years, has had a huge cyst on the side of his neck. It gets bigger, gets smaller. And maybe a month or two ago, it split, it opened up, and it's disgusting. And he's not at an age I want to put him through any surgery. I've been using some herbs like yarrow and things like that, which seem to help it kind of. It's been ridiculous. I mean, it spit out calcium rocks and things like that. Almost looked like it was some kind of a metastatic tumor, but it's not. And you mentioned Yunnan Bio, which I've used in the past through my veterinarian who has
Yep,
passed away.
Union
Trying to
Bio
do-
is good if you have bleeding.
Only if I have bleeding. It
Yep,
has
that's what
bled,
it's
but
good
it's not
for.
bleeding now. And that's the other thing that it's doing right now is just secreting
Well,
this clear
yeah,
stuff.
let me interrupt you. So
Mhm.
again, the answer, there is not, I can't tell you, do one thing and it's going to get fixed. I would recommend at this age that you begin working with a holistic veterinarian. So go to the select article, find a
Yeah,
holistic
mine
veterinarian.
died last year. I do need a
I
new one.
understand that you had one, but now it's time to find another one. And this is for everybody on the call. Even if your animal is well right now, you need to
Mhm.
you need to be on the books with a holistic veterinarian. That's really important. And in the 3 minutes we have left, if anybody who we didn't get to with your hands being raised would type it in the chat, Aruna, just your problem. Aruna will, if you haven't already put it in the chat, please put it there, and Aruna hopefully will copy it and send it to me. And with, oh no, because then we need the email. Sorry.
Yeah.
I guess you're going to have to come back next week, or join Holistic Actions, and then you can post it in the forum. You can post all your questions. So I apologize, but this is for just 1 hour. So.
And I think I'm sharing this. Now am I sharing the screen? That's what I
It
think.
I
is,
have
that's
one more
sharing the
question-
screen.
One more question about that, if you don't
So-
mind.
Uh-huh.
And that's, I had heard that acupuncture would be a solution I could pursue.
It could
for,
be, absolutely. Acupuncture, homeopathy could both be solutions.
because I've heard two different
And-
things.
And
But
now, see, the thing
you-
is, there
I'm
is
glad
no
to hear.
one right answer. Okay.
Right.
So
I'm aware of that.
therefore, all you can do is try an approach, see how that works. Do they feel better overall and the symptoms slowly resolve? Or do they feel worse after the treatment or after several treatments? Then you know if you're moving in the right direction or not in the right direction. And if you're on the forum visiting it for free, you can type in response to treatment or evaluating response and hear a lot more about that. Okay, Dr. Jeff, I'm going to say bye.
All right. Thanks so
Thank you,
much,
guys.
Dr. Chambreau, and thank you all for coming. I do have the slide. Let me see if I can actually shrink this because I can't see the chat anymore. But if you would like to join us, then that happy 19 code is, I guess, Aruna set that up to give you guys a 1-month discount to give a try. You can post any of your questions on the forum. You know, Dr. Christina, myself, Dr. Hofi, Dr. Chapman, a bunch of people and the whole community are gonna answer on the forum, and everyone can search the forum, and we'll see you next week. And I apologize if you had questions that we didn't get to. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.